So this episode is on section 4 of the assessment, which is firewalls. So Neil, what are the requirements for this section?
The requirements for this section about firewalls is that you need a firewall that's either a physical device or a software firewall between your devices and the internet. Now, if you've got a network, all right, and you're in an office organisation, that needs to be a physical device. When you're outside the network, the boundaries of working in a home environment, remote working, we're in a coffee shop, you need to make sure that you've got your software firewalls in place as your boundary to the internet. Now, we do really require that those software firewalls are in place and installed and configured at all times whenever they're on the internet. Okay, so that's in the office location, etc. But they are the boundary we're really looking for when outside the office location. We need to make sure that those, when you're talking about the physical devices, particularly, that the default password is changed from the original. You'll be surprised how many don't change it. Okay, and the thing is, those default passwords are readily available on the internet. Yep. There's actually one website that posts all of them because it helps people to configure them, but also they can be used and they're often checked against it. Okay, so you need to be changing those passwords. You also need to make sure that you have what we call ports, all inbound ports to your organisation, where possible, need to be turned off. The ones you need to have open, you need to have documented, and you regularly check if they need to remain open. Now, this could be for a VPN service, it could be for an email service, it could be for a cloud service you're hosting, you know, for many other organisations, but you need to check those ports and whether you really need them open. There's 65,000 of these ports that are available on what we call an IP address range. Those ports, they are effectively a doorway into your organisation. So you need to be monitoring and controlling those ports and have be closing them when you don't need them.
Very important.
But don't just rely on the fact that your firewall does it by default. You should always check there. Unfortunately, you know, there are some vendors out there that don't. They'll keep common ones open, or maybe they just allow all to be open. So when you have a new one, please go and check. Okay?
Absolutely.
That's what we're really looking for. They are the major factors about what we're doing it. But you want to have a process around when you do open a port and make sure that's reviewed on a regular basis. Okay? They are the real major requirements around firewalls here. Just remember that firewall gives you that boundary between your organisation and the internet. And Cyber Essentials is about protecting you from threats from the internet when they have access, and they can come from the internet inbound to your organisation.
Yep. So firewalls is a big one. From an assessor perspective, Ian, what are the common pitfalls?
So you might get some people round about section 2.8 who don't have any network equipment. What then can they answer in that section? So
2.8 is the question in the question set that talks about what devices you have as firewalls. If you don't have, and you're a cloud-based company, so by that I mean you're using cloud services and you're working in an office, etc. You know, in the office, should still have a proper physical firewall in place. You wouldn't rely any other way. In the home environment, in a cloud services, you need to state that you're using software firewalls. Gives the understanding to the assessor, especially if you move on to C+, what kind of firewall they've got to test. Because we still, like anything in Cyber Essentials, the devices in use need to have a supported operating system. So it could be a firewall. In that case, it could be the firmware of that device. That could be the operating system. And so they need to still be receiving regular security updates. If you're relying on the software firewall on, say, Windows 10 or Windows 11, you still need to make sure it's a supported version of Windows 10 or 11, because vulnerabilities can be found in those firewalls. So you want to also make sure they get the regular security updates as well. That's why if you've not got a physical device in your office or at home that you can allow to be included in Cyber Essentials, you need to state in A2.8 you're using software firewalls to be your boundary.
So to follow up from your point there, when people are relying on software firewalls, quite often in section 4, we'll see people who have said they are relying on software firewalls, but Section 4.2 would relate to changing the default password on a firewall. What's the best course of action for organisations that don't have that hardware device in order to do so?
So basically, because there's a question about if you believe it's been compromised in Section 4. If you believe that you've been compromised, change the access password to the device, full stop. So that'd be the user account of that device. You would also probably really should be considering the local administrator password change on it as well.
Great.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. So another section that we sometimes see misanswered would be companies in Section 4.5 would be answering no for any firewall services enabled. Sometimes we'll see that they're using VPNs or infrastructure as a service elsewhere in the assessment. What's the best kind of guidance you could offer, or how should companies be answering this section?
Okay, so when you get in A4.5, when we're talking about these are the services you've opened up on your firewall, and these are the incoming ports you've allowed. So you're allowing traffic from the internet coming into your organisation. So that could be VPN, email services, a cloud service you host on premise, could be a website you host. Okay, you need to make sure that you're protecting it. So the answer for A4.5, if you've got any of those open and you've opened up any ports, is yes. Okay, and that's the next thing you need to do, is then document them, and that's where the flow through the question set will help you. All right, take you on that journey.
Speaking of documentation, what would count as documenting these open services, these open ports?
Well, the point is you know, we don't talk about documentation too much in Cyber Essentials because we don't want people relying on it. But this is actually a documented record of the ports that are open and making sure they're reviewed. So really what you want to do is go, oh, we reviewed while we've got this open every 3 to 6 months, whatever period you choose in that, you know, but you want to know, why have we got port 25 open? Why have we got port 22 open? Oh, we stopped doing FTP, but why is it still open? You need to have that review period, but you need to have it documented somewhere. It could be a spreadsheet, okay? It could be in a report that comes out of the firewall that you store and you check and review every so often to make sure. But you do need to be checking. But remember, these are the doorways into your organisation that you can slam shut by turning them off and closing those ports and not allowing somebody in, because you can see these open ports from the internet. There are tools out there that are used, you know, Nmap, etc., that can check and view open ports.
Yep, so thanks for that, Ian, and thanks very much for the advice, Neil. If your organisation is interested in obtaining Cyber Essentials, check out our website, cyberessentials.online.